Hi, it's Pete from Gridcog. In this video we're talking solar fences. This was inspired by a blog post earlier this year that generated a lot of interest, so we thought we would share a bit more on the topic. So why solar fences? Well, they're definitely a bit of a novelty, and for sure there aren't heaps of them out there just yet, but they're really good for illustrating how the wholesale energy markets are evolving, particularly intraday prices, and how that's starting to have real implications for folks investing in renewable energy assets like wind and solar. The idea behind a solar fence is simple enough. If you need a fence for separating land, maybe to keep livestock in or your neighbours out, then why not make it from bifacial solar panels? That way you get a fence, but also as a side hustle you get a power plant, and one that takes up almost no space, which is really attractive in parts of the world where land for solar is scarce and or expensive. Whilst understanding the value of a fence is simple enough, at face value it doesn't necessarily look like a particularly smart way of generating energy. After all, the conventional way of installing solar is to orientate it in a way where it captures the most sunlight. So in the northern hemisphere, that means pointing your panels south, vice versa in the southern hemisphere, and then at a tilt a little less than the latitude of the site. A solar fence looks nothing like that. Instead, the panels are at a 90-degree tilt, so perpendicular to the ground, and in an east-west orientation, with the front of the panel facing the eastern horizon and the back of the panel the west. When we spun up a model in Gridcog though, one for a site in Australia and one for a site in London, a couple of things became obvious. Firstly, due to the nature of the bifacial panels, our solar fence actually yielded more energy than our conventional system oriented in the traditional fashion, to the tune of about 3% for Sydney and about 10% for London. Secondly, and this was the really interesting bit, when you price that energy generated against the coincident wholesale energy markets for those locations, the solar fence seriously outperformed the conventional system. That was particularly so in Australia, where on average daytime energy prices are now much lower than nighttime. With PV costs expected to fall further over the coming years and wholesale markets continuing to be hollowed out during daylight hours, we might expect asset owners to start taking some more unconventional approaches to system design.